Hello YouTube. Today on Auto Kit Reviews, I have from Moebius and Model King the Joe Weatherly's 1961 Pontiac Catalina. This would have been run in the NASCAR series, what would now be the Winston Cup series in 1961. And so let's take a look around and see what comes in the kit. Looking here on the side, we have a nice overview of a completed model. There's box art here on the end. Mine got a little damage there, but kit number on this is 1221. And then another nice interior view of a completed build, and then the same box art on the other end. Setting that to the side, we'll look through our instruction sheet first. So first off, important information, you can read at your leisure. Now this one is a little different than the other in that it is a larger fold out, just a bifold sheet. However, it is a very large sheet, so go ahead and just kind of go through it this way. So up here in the top we have our engine assembly. So we get our two halves of the block and the bell housing for our transmission all together, then putting all of the details on the top of that, putting our side panels on, firewall, building up the 6-point roll cage, then dropping in the frame, motor, and everything like that onto the underside of the chassis. Continuing up here, we have our front and rear suspension, with the rear end, shocks, everything like that. Putting the wheels and tires together, putting those on, glass going in, little fender pieces here, chromed fender pieces, and then putting the body onto the chassis. Putting all of the front detail and rear detail on, making sure that you have the window retainer bars going in for the NASCAR kit, and then the hood with the hood hinges. Lastly, here on the back we have some nice color pictures here to show what the inside should look like, or could look like if you so choose to build it as the Joe Weatherly car. Have some nice detailed outside shots and a underbody shot as well. And then recommendation for the chrome to use bare metal foil for around the windows, things like that. So that is just a look through our instruction sheet. We do have our decals here, which I'll go ahead and slice that open and take a quick glance through. These are really pretty nice decal sheets. They're really pretty flat. We do have a couple of different marking options for the number 8. Nice that we also have the Firestone tire markings there. We also have left front, right, left rear, things like that for the tires. And as you can see, there is actually 2 different marking options that could be done. Relatively, not too bad. However, not exactly the greatest marking options in the world. Missing some of the contingencies, things like that. So, getting into the kit itself, we have in bag number 1 here our body and lower chassis. So we have our frame here, which is one piece. We have the lower tub, which fits in via these 2 pins up here at the top into the fender well, and then a couple of pins there in the back. Detail on the bottom is absolutely, let me lock that in at a good point, there we go. Absolutely superb detail on the bottom of the chassis. And we have our 1961 body. And it is absolutely beautiful. Go ahead and set that out of the way. Getting into bag number 2 here. We have a lot of our suspension pieces. I do have one little piece running around in my bag. We have our drive shaft, some of the engine detail, shock detail, everything like that. Have our rear end assembly, distributor cap, things like that. We have our engine halves, some of the trim, wheel backs. We have a very nicely molded radiator with no ejector pins, which is lovely to see. Oil pan, rear shocks, which are very finely molded springs, I should say. Not shocks, but springs. Very, very finely molded. I don't think that would actually be that accurate. Exhaust headers, exhaust manifolds, I should say. I'll go ahead and just slide those back in with this little part. Next up, we have our interior, which includes the very nice early stock car 6-point roll cage. Have our dashboard, more of the roll cage, the large air cleaner, steering wheel, which is not textured. Most drivers then would use like electrical tape or some form of tape on the steering wheel just to give a little extra grip. So there normally would be a texture on that. Fire extinguisher as well there. We have our nice exhaust pipes as normal, not open-ended, but that's not that big of a deal. We have just a stock, or a plain rear firewall there. A couple of parts there as well. Banking parts. So setting those to the side. Get into one more of our colored trees, and then we'll get to the chrome, clears, and tires. So the next baggie here is our sorted pieces. We have a little hose. I'll set it in there so I don't lose it. We have our dashboard, stock dash with very nicely molded details. We have our front firewall, our 1961 hood, our radiator support. We have our steely rims for the tires. We have our interior panels, which again, at this point in NASCAR, they were still using relatively stock interiors, so that would be relatively accurate. And then our racing seat with no harnesses, anything like that. So either you'll have to make some or omit them at your discretion. Next up, in our quick look around, is our chrome tree. So we have that beautiful chrome grille. We have our headlight covers here. That's what these little silver pieces are there. Gear shifter, door handles, which again, at this point, doors were still relatively open doors. They would just belt them shut at this point in NASCAR. And our rear bumper, carburetors, other trim pieces, valve covers, things like that. Set chrome out of the way. We have our 4 tires, which I'll go ahead and just, I guess, grab one out. That's not too big of a deal. Which does have some very nicely molded tread on the bottom. And last but not least is going to be our clear parts, which very sparse. Just have our front and rear windshield. A whole lot there, and then the 2 side vent windows. So this is going to be into kind of part 1 of this review. I'm going to kind of go back and give an overview. If you're building this as a NASCAR, a couple of things just to kind of look at and to look for when building this. Also, how you can actually switch this to use as a 62 body style as well. So hope you've enjoyed this review, and if you want, check out the video below about building a NASCAR Pontiac Catalina. Have a wonderful rest of your day.